In every corporate career, there's eventually an invisible wall that stops the best employees progressing because hard work got you to where you are now, but suddenly it seems like the only way up is to use corporate buzzwords and to play politics. Well, that's what I thought too, until I discovered this system I'm about to show you. It's a system that took me from answering phones to director making over $200,000, and I never once had to say, let's circle back on that offline. So in this video, I'm going to show you that system and how to use it in your role today. So in order to smash through this barrier and continue climbing and earning more at work, you've got to understand what is actually holding you back. Because right now you might think it's your boss or timing or politics, but usually that's not actually the real problem. You see, in every company you've ever worked in, your org chart is going to look something like this. This lists the positions and the chain of reporting, and it might be a way for you to identify which role you're trying to move into. But this org chart is only showing you half the picture because there's actually a second hierarchy sitting underneath this one that this chart doesn't show. And understanding that hidden hierarchy is the key to moving up, and it looks like this. What this shows you is the different layers inside the organization. And what you need to know is beyond your job title and your grade and beyond the box that you're sitting in the org chart, your role also sits inside one of these layers. And each layer isn't defined by your job title or your grade, it's defined by the type of work you're expected to do. So for example, a strategist layer role isn't the one implementing anything. They're not inside the weeds building dashboards or writing copy. In other words, doing the actual stuff. Their entire value is strategy and influence and steering the direction of a division. Whereas the contributor layer is the complete opposite. Here, you're not deciding the work, you're doing the work, which means doing the tasks and the stuff and following the process. And this is why this matters, because whilst the org chart shows you who reports to who and what the structure looks like, these layers show you the type of contribution each layer expects from you. And more importantly, the type of contribution the next layers requires from you in order to move up. And I want to highlight these two roles here because I want you to notice something about them. Because the difference between them is the key to understanding why you're not moving up. So these two roles here are the same layer, right? So what that means is getting promoted from social media marketing executive to marketing specialist is a promotion on the org chart, but not a promotion from this perspective of the layers. Because not every promotion on the org chart means a shift up an entire layer. But these roles here, moving from brand manager to brand lead, goes between the layers. And what you need to understand about this is simple. Moving within the same layer is easy because you're being judged on the same criteria. But when you're trying to move from one layer to another, this is really difficult because being good at your current job doesn't work because you're being judged on something else that you're not even aware of. So if you've been working hard and you've been delivering and yet you're still being overlooked, then it's not that you're not good enough. Your problem is you're trying to break through a layer using the skills that only work inside the layer you're in. But as I'm about to show you, if you can understand what each layer expects of you, then you can finally know what to fix and you can finally break free and actually climb upwards. So the first thing you need to do is work out what these layers actually are and which one you're stuck in right now. And I'm going to make a guess here about exactly where you are on these layers, and I'm willing to bet that I'm right because almost everyone is stuck on the exact same layer. So if what I'm about to describe sounds exactly like your situation, then firstly, you need to subscribe because you're exactly who I make these videos for. And if not, then feel free to stop watching. So here's my guess. You're not new to your field anymore. You've put in the years. You've climbed a few grades or a few levels already. You're genuinely good at what you do, maybe even one of the best in the team. You always see better ways that the company should be doing things. People often come to you for answers, but somehow you're still not the person they choose to promote. And you sit there looking at the people above you, wondering how on earth they got their jobs, because you can always see where they're messing up. And if that feels familiar, then subscribe. But secondly, that's the sign that you're stuck at the top of the specialist layer and you're trying to break free into the controller layer. And this is the exact transition that traps more people than any other, because this is the first jump where being good at doing the stuff is no longer enough. But the good news is this: once you know how to fix this, then you're going to break through this barrier really quickly. So if you've already put the years in and you've proven you can actually do the work, then stick around, because I'm about to show you exactly why you're not breaking through and exactly what to do instead to climb to the next layer. So in order to make the most difficult career jump you're going to make, the first thing you need to understand is the rules have changed. And this is why people get trapped, because the exact same approach that got you from the bottom of contributor to the top of specialist is no longer the thing that's going to get you to the controller layer. And in fact, it's probably the exact thing that's stopping you from getting up there. So what is that thing? Well, to climb at any level of your career, it's a pretty simple formula. You just outperform the people around you, and then when the next opportunity comes up, then it goes to you. Now, before you turn this video off, I can hear you saying, Josh, what on earth are you on about? That just isn't true. It's all about politics and having the right friends. And just give me 60 seconds, because I'm about to show you why it is true, just not in the way that you think. So the thing is, climbing inside a layer is done by doing the thing that that layer values better than the other people in that layer. So contributor and specialist are what are known as performance layers. So of course, you got rewarded by being good, because those layers care about production and execution and doing the stuff. But when you're trying to get to the controller layer, everyone up there has already proven that they can do all of the stuff. So you're competing with people who are already good, and yet you still need to outperform them. It's just you don't do that by being better in terms of doing the stuff. So you can see the problem, right? You're sat there doing your actual work, you're going above and beyond and delivering more stuff than everyone else, yet you're not the one promoted, because David over there, who does half of what you do, somehow gets promoted before you. And you might think that it's favoritism, but in reality, you were just being judged on criteria you didn't even know existed. And David, whether by accident or design, was signaling that right criteria better than you were. So that makes things really simple. If you want to break into controller, you've got to know what you're actually being judged on. And that's exactly what I'm about to show you. Right, so this is the scorecard that you're being judged on. And what it's basically doing is breaking your role into two things: the output and the ownership. And it's showing you what good looks like at each of those levels and what bad looks like as well. So for each of those levels, we're going to look at the output and the ownership. And output just means the actual work, so the stuff that's getting produced at each role. And ownership is a bit different, because it's about how much responsibility you actually have over the work that you're doing. And when you lay these two things out across all the levels, so contributor, specialist, controller, it starts to show you why some people climb and the others stall. So let me show you what I mean. When you're at contributor level, getting good at output just means following the process properly. It means doing the work, getting stuff done, which is really easy, right? And ownership at that level just means not being needy. If a small problem comes up, then just fix it. Don't go reporting every tiny road bump up the chain. Now, at the specialist level, this is a bit more advanced, because you've climbed a few grades in the org chart and you've got some experience at doing stuff now, so the output bar moves up with you. It's no longer about did you do it, it's about did your involvement actually make things better. And the same goes for ownership. You expect it to be more forward-leaning and autonomous, not just reacting to problems, but spotting them before they become problems and self-directing towards the department's goals. So these two levels, the contributor and the specialist, they're very output focused. But when you get to the controller, that's where everything changes, because now output isn't doing the things anymore. It's deciding what should be done in the first place. It's defining the standards. It's taking ownership over a process. It's choosing what gets built and what doesn't, and aligning those outputs to the business. And that's the output of controller level. And pay attention here, because this is why people get trapped. It's because you're crushing it as a specialist. It means you're really good at the output, but then you keep trying to be better at the output to show you're ready for controller, and it completely backfires, because that's not what being good at a controller level looks like. In fact, it's the opposite. The more you lean into doing stuff, the more you're trying to prove yourself by executing even better, the more you're actually showing that you're not ready. What it shows is you're more comfortable in the doing stuff. And what that means is, in order to move up, you have to do less stuff and more deciding what stuff gets done. And at this point, people always ask me the same thing. Okay, but how am I supposed to do that controller stuff from my specialist role? I don't have the authority to change things yet. And I can sympathize with that. But here's the thing, that mindset is the thing that's holding you back, because at controller level, ownership means owning the outcome end to end and making the final calls and driving the decisions. If you're saying, I can't do that yet because I'm not officially in that role, then you're doing ownership wrong. What you're doing is pushing responsibility upwards and blaming a lack of clarity and waiting for permission. And the people watching, your manager and the business, they're seeing someone who's not ready yet. And because the thing about ownership in business, no one ever hands me authority to do anything. You have to be what's known as a driving force and being able to push things through. And that's the exact kind of thing you have to demonstrate in order to get to controller level. It means not waiting for authority and formal permission, but it means trying to push things through. And look, this is what makes the jump from specialist to controller so hard, especially for someone who was really good at the doing and they got to their position because they were so competent at doing all the stuff. Because to move up, you're supposed to show you're taking ownership and making bigger calls, but your actual job still wants you doing the stuff, not actually owning anything. And that's a tightrope you've got to walk. And if you're stuck in the middle, feeling like you're ready, but you're not seen that way yet, then that's exactly why I made this video. It's going to show you how to position yourself for the next level before you've been formally handed the title. So go and watch that one now.